Hello, I'm Ollie and this is Criminolly, where I talk about crime, pulp, horror, that kind of thing. Today I want to talk to you about manga and my struggles to figure out how to read it. So this video is kind of part of my my ongoing journey into the world of manga. So I did a vlog video last week where I talked about 10 manga series that I'd read the first volume of and kind of ranked those and talked about which ones I was enjoying and which ones I was going to continue reading. And I really enjoyed doing that video, and I've really enjoyed reading some manga. So I've read various bits of manga over the years, but haven't really read that much of it. And it was a great experience doing that video, and it's definitely made me want to read more. But the challenge I now find myself with is that I'm so used to just reading novels and you know, occasionally short stories, but mostly novels. That's so much my routine that I'm struggling to figure out how I fit reading something much quicker and easier, you know, simpler to read, into that routine. So whereas a novel, you know, I read quite quickly, so I can usually get through a novel in a day or two, depending on the length of it. But something that's only going to take me, you know, 40 minutes to read, which can be the case with a volume of manga, how do I work that into my routine? And I'm conscious this probably feels like a really strange problem to have, and I'm probably overthinking it massively, but it has been really playing on my mind. And I've come up with a few different ways that I could tackle this. So I thought it'd be interesting to make a video, just to quickly go through all the things I've got to read, because I've gone through a horrific period of acquisition where I've picked up loads of stuff that I now need to read. So I wanted to talk about that a bit and show you what I've got to read, but also just toss around the different ideas I've got for how I'm going to read it, and just get, you know, maybe get some advice from people out there in the audience who do read a diet that is mixed between you know, kind of longer form novels and manga and graphic novels and comics and things like that. So let me start by just going through what I've got. So firstly, and this one I've got on Kindle, it looks very different from the other kind of manga I've read recently, but it's I think you pronounce it Ouran, so Ouran High School Host Club, which I think is kind of a romantic comedy type manga. I've then got, as previously shown on the channel, I've got the next 3 volumes of Chainsaw Man. So Chainsaw Man was one of the 10 series that I started in that vlog video the other day. So I've got the next 3 volumes of that. I've got the next volume of Blood on the Tracks, which is another one of the books I talked about last week. I've got the first volume of Monster, which I think is more of a kind of crime type manga, which is really thick as well, so looking forward to that one. I've got the next volume of Black Butler, which I wasn't particularly enjoying, but then it completely turned itself on its head at the end, so now I need to know what happens next. And then I've also got the next 3 volumes of Spy X Family. I'll just show you the covers, see if I can do them in the right order. So 2, 3 and 4. So I had a fantastic time with this series when I read it, when I read the first one of it. And then I've got this From the Red Fog, which I think is Korean, and I think you pronounce Korean. I think in Korean this kind of book is called manhwa rather than manga. But yeah, looking forward to that. Looks good. And I do have another one. Oops, I've misplaced it. So I also have this one, which the publisher also sent me, Manner of Death, which is a crime one. And then I've also picked up, because I had some Amazon vouchers for my birthday, volumes 2 and 3. You can't really tell the difference, can you? They look the same. Volumes 2 and 3 of the deluxe editions of Berserk. And then on my Kindle I've also got, which I bought a while ago, all of Attack on Titan and the various Attack on Titan spin-off series. So that again was one that I read in that vlog video the other week and really enjoyed the first instalment of. So basically I've got a ton of stuff to read. And what I don't want to do is end up in a situation where I don't get through all of this before buying more stuff, and I'm very conscious that I'm someone who can be who can lack impulse control when it comes to book buying, as the pile I've just showed you evidences. what I want to try and do is get through as much of this as possible and not just read one series and get really wrapped up in that series and then, you know, decide I want to read more of that series and end up buying those and then not reading the other stuff that I've got. So in terms of how I'm going to read this stuff, it occurred to me that there's, and I have talked about this on my Discord server as well, and people have given me some tips there, but it occurs to me there's kind of 3 different ways I could do it. So one is I could just treat these books like I would treat any other book and just fit them into my TBR for the month, and just read them. You know, when I finish a book, I might pick up a novel next, or I might pick up a piece of manga. So I could do it that way. But somehow, to me, that doesn't feel quite right. It feels to me like there's definitely a difference between reading this kind of thing and reading a novel. So that's one thing I could do. Somebody on my Discord, KGS Tooth, suggested that one way I could do it is to dedicate a day a week to reading manga and just read manga on that day. And I quite like that idea. So I'm kind of tossing that idea around in my head and seeing how I could make it work. And if I did do that, what I'd quite like to do is record a vlog that day and just vlog my experiences reading whatever it is I'm reading. But I will struggle. There'll be in different weeks, there'll be different days when it's convenient for me to do that. So that adds a bit of complexity to it. So maybe I'll do that, maybe I won't. And then the other thing I thought about, which is kind of similar, but which I quite like the idea of, is trying to read this stuff in the way it was originally published. So most of these titles will originally have been published weekly in a magazine like Shonen Jump. I think Weekly Shonen Jump is probably the best known of the Japanese manga titles, where they serialize a number of stories, and you will get, you know, one episode each week. And you read them, you know, over a number of weeks and months and years. You know, the story continues. And as a kid, you know, that's how I read comics. You know, I used to buy, when I was kind of 11 or 12, 2000 AD every week, and, you know, loved reading the serialized stuff in that, and then, you know, got into American comics as well. So, you know, some of the Marvel stuff, so X-Men and Swamp Thing from DC, I was a really big fan of as well. So again, and that serialized thing where you have to wait for the next installment, I really enjoyed. And I remember reading The Green Mile by Stephen King when that was published. That was originally published in 6 parts, one a month, and I really enjoyed the experience of reading that as a serialized work of fiction as well. So I'm quite tempted to try doing that and read each, and I haven't decided yet if it's going to be each week or each month. You know, have a set number of series that I am reading, which will be dictated by what I've got already, and just read one instalment either every week or every month. And for some of them, it may be that I may do them one a week. If, you know, something like Attack on Titan, where I've got dozens and dozens of issues of it, it would probably make sense to read one of those a week. Whereas something like Berserk, where I haven't got so many and it's really expensive to get more of, maybe I'll do one a month. But I don't know. I can't figure out. I need to figure out. Maybe I just need to try it and see what rhythm works for me. But I do quite like the idea of eking out the pleasure of reading these things, and also therefore eking out the expense of having to buy more of them. So I think that might be what I try, but I'm really keen to hear from people in the comments. You know, what if, as I say, if you do read manga alongside other things, how do you do it? And do you just dive into one series and read as many volumes as you can get of it, or do you deliberately, you know, defer the pleasure a bit by you know, spreading it out and reading it in a serial fashion, even if you've already got a load of the volumes already on hand? So I hope you found that interesting. Please do leave comments with any tips you've got and your reflections on how you read, you know, manga and comics and things like that. Really keen to hear how other people do it. And as always, thanks very much for watching. Hope you're safe and well out there. Hope you're reading good stuff, and I'll speak to you again very soon. Cheerio.